Hey, homeowners. Today, with Beneath the Surface, we have a very special guest with us. She is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club here in Bowling Green. Her name is Liz Bernard Clark. And if you don't know her, we're about to get to know her. So we're going to learn what she does and what she's about, and we're going to dig in like that. So, Liz, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
We are anxious to hear about this nonprofit that my wife is crazy about.
Uh-huh.
And so, why is she so crazy about the Boys and the Girls Club?
So, actually, Mary has a very long history with not only Boys and Girls Club, but she was first on the Girls Inc. board. And that's when I originally met Mary many years ago. And our organizations merged in 2009. And then she came on the newly organized board of the Boys and Girls Club. So, Mary is very, I think, passionate, especially about charities that really influence children. And so this has been a natural fit for her. She really, Mary, I always say, I wish we could copy and paste you because she is involved in a lot, but she's dedicated to all of it equally. She gives everybody the same amount of energy, and that's not an easy feat. So I think that she just
true.
really has a passion for our mission and really supporting the kids in our area.
Right. So, the Boys and Girl Club. I don't truly know what they do. I get a lot of exposure to nonprofits because of
Mm-hmm.
Mary, and she is up close and personal with you guys, and I hear the stories, so I know bits and pieces. So, what do you guys? What's your mission? What's your goal? What do you do?
So we're kind of like the best kept secret. Most folks are familiar with the term Boys and Girls Club, but they don't necessarily know what clubs do. Your case in point. And so we are here to serve all young people, especially those who need us most. And we serve ages 6 to 18, so we run the gamut. And we really provide, first and foremost, a safe place for kids to be. And in that safe space, we provide them opportunities for fun and learning and enrichment, and really give them access to things they might not otherwise have access to, and help set them up to carve out their futures, whatever they decide that looks like. So we have a ton of programming opportunities. We have sports and recreation, we have arts, we have STEAM, workforce development, you name it. We probably have a program that touches.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 to 16.
18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay. And then and it's not just playing basketball, playing tennis, those sorts of things. So we actually have some arts. We can expose them to like crafts and sort of things, or like what's that look like?
So anything from just your traditional arts and crafts to actual, lessons in theater and fine arts and
see.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, and then you said arts, and then you also said like the career planning, or like what does that look like? What's
Yes. So no one these days is a stranger to workforce development. We hear that all the time. Boys and Girls Clubs of America has put together a really strong framework around life and workforce readiness for our young people. Obviously, there's a heavy focus in that, like 13 to 18-year-old group, but we believe that preparation starts when they're really young. You can start that exposure. Obviously, it has to be more age appropriate, but the exposure starts then, and that creates the foundation that they can build upon. Because, in my opinion, if you're starting when a kid is, a sophomore, junior, senior, talking about this, you are behind the mark. So,
right. So if you're going to be like, I got exposed to farming at a very young age, so it's no problem for me to go out there and just break a sweat today because that's game on, right? Yeah. So Boys and Girls Club thinks that starts in the 6, 7, 8-year-old range.
Yeah, and so for them it looks like, for example, in the summer we'll bring the police station in or the fire department in. They love to see the truck. They love to see the equipment. The firefighters talk to them, and then the discussion becomes like, hey, this is a job. Firefighters do this. These are other things you can do. And that just creates that interest and that curiosity. And so it's really exposure first. And then you just kind of building block on top of that. And then when they get to our teen program, then it turns into, let's get you prepared. Let's help you get in the real world work experience. Sometimes that's
Right.
helping connect them with internships. It's helping with resumes and interview skills. It's we do a lot of college and trade school visits, and even some job shadowing and different things. So really, the sky's the limit. And
Right.
actually, something really cool that we've done within this year is we have some VR headsets, so virtual reality,
Oh
which
wow.
still like blows my mind. Um, and the company is called Transfer VR, and these headsets are for workforce training. And there are actually companies across the country that use these to train employees, so kids can get on there. The other day I did it, and I helped assist an orthopedic surgeon do a knee replacement. So there's
No
medical, there's
kidding.
industrial. You can change the
Wow.
oil in a car, and they can actually get credentialed. But it's a really cool way for kids to get that exposure and actually have that hands-on experience.
So wow,
Yeah.
that is neat.
Yeah.
I see how that can apply. So that's very powerful, very effective. So
Yep.
in their mind, they're like they've been there, they've done that, and it's like more authentic than like reading in a book or just doing it straight on hands on to learn.
Yep.
So if I'm a 16-year-old and I've been in the Boys and Girls Club program, and maybe I'm about to transition out of that program in the next 2-3 years, so what role do they play for the younger people coming in, or do they? Is it
So we opened a teen center, a new construction teen center in 2019, and it is a space just for those teenagers. So they like a little more autonomy. They need more autonomy. They kids vote with their feet, and so if you're forcing teenagers to do the same things you're forcing like 8 and 9 year olds to do, they're not going to show up. So
right?
they have a dedicated space and dedicated programming designed for them, but that teen center is built onto our current property, and so they do have access to come in, and they really do, on their terms of course,
Right.
like to help volunteer in the front office. They like to help the younger classes. Maybe that looks like going in and helping with a session. Last summer they each took a country. They chose a country, and they did all this research, and they created little stations and set them up in our gym, and kind of did an around the world fair for all of the younger kids.
Wow.
And they're really great about coming up with their own things, and so we try to accommodate reasonable requests for them to be able to be active within the club, because
Right.
that's an important part of their club experience.
So kind of like a leadership kind of branch
Yes.
of that to kind of do maybe a self starter kind of branch, and then
Yeah.
so and you give them the tools to kind of do that. So
Yeah.
that's great, and so that would influence the younger too
Mhm.
because they get to see that kind of happens. So um, I picture the word achievement, that helps them
Mhm.
achieve, and then I also see the
Absolutely.
word exposure because you might get exposed to something that maybe I would not normally be exposed to because my parents didn't have maybe the funds to expose me to those situations.
Right.
So, wow, so great program. So, how do you raise your funds to support Boys and Girls Club?
So we are a nonprofit organization, and we rely on grant funds. We have an endowment, individual donors, and then we do have three major fundraisers that we do throughout the year. So we just had our annual golf tournament at the beginning of May. It's a 2-day event.
Yeah.
Houchins Food Group puts that on for us. That was $175,000 event.
Wow.
It's a very big deal.
And it sells out like every year.
Every
right?
year.
Like if you don't sign up when that comes out, you're not probably going to play in that one.
Yes, that's right. It's huge, and for a golf tournament, a charity golf scramble to raise, that kind of money is really terrific. And then in March we do March Mania, which is around the college NCAA basketball tournament. And then at the end of each year, we do a traditional mail campaign. It's called Back a Child, and that's just really a plea to the community to support kids for the following year.
So you get your kid to support, and you might they get a picture and a little profile kind of thing.
Yeah, so every year the card's a different theme, and we always like to include, for $35 you can provide this many meals. $150 provides X hours of homework assistance, and really try to let people see how that money works. Yeah.
So the Boys and Girls Club, I have they come there. So not only do they get exposed to these support branches, but they also get to eat and mingle, and you can help feed
Mhm.
them. So
Yes.
the parents drop the kid off, and then they come back and pick them back up. What does that usually look like? Or
Yeah. So I think people what don't a lot of people don't realize is that kids are actually out of school more
right,
than they are in, and so we are filling the gaps in those out of school times. So in the after school program, they get there, they go to snack, then they go to their arrival spaces around 3:30. We separate out, and they break out into their grade level groups, and then each day is scheduled out. We have a schedule of what everybody's doing. It's organized chaos, but it's and then right now we're in week 2 of our summer camp, and that's 5 days a week. From 8 to 5 every day. So we're providing breakfast, lunch, snack. We take them on field trips. We're doing all the programming, I just said before I left, somebody was asking me something. I was like, listen, we keep the van wheels rolling. We want them out having fun. This is their summer vacation,
yeah.
so we're trying to do as much as we can in 8 weeks and just.
So they stay engaged and they stay in the program.
Mm-hmm.
So I can remember all the trouble and all the stuff I did wrong was between 3 and 5 o'clock, because that's when I got out
Yeah,
of school. My mom's not home. I have a twin sister. That's when we have all of our fights, all of our fun, all of our sins. All that was done
for
before
sure.
mom got home.
That's right.
So that's a great thing that you give them something else to do, because I
Mm-hmm.
guess you get bored as kids. You're not ready to do homework yet. Like we got
Yeah,
free reign for a
yeah.
while. So that's great that you do that. So the boys, so this is a national organization, and Bowling Green has their specific branch. Is it by
Yes.
city? Is it by state? What's that structure?
So every organization is autonomous. We are actually celebrating our 75th anniversary this year. So 1950, we actually chartered in 1949, but we opened in 1950. So we use that as
Wow.
our celebration, our birthday. But every community is unique. Boys and Girls Clubs of America doesn't really dictate where they go. It's
Right.
it's typically a community approaches another club nearby or the national office and says, hey, we would love to have a club in our
Do we have a
community.
need here?
Yeah, we have over 5,000 club sites across the country. We are on like military installations, so kids that are military connected
Oh,
live on
wow.
military bases. We have those programs.
Wow.
We're rural, metro, you name it, suburban. We're even on native lands, which is really cool. I think those clubs are
Wow.
really, and they're really tailored to the Native American experience, which I think is super special. So we're everywhere. We're in every,
Yeah.
and we continue to open sites and grow because for as many kids as we serve nationally, there are still many, many more who need a club.
So when do they get the crossover, like this community with it? How do I meet a Native American if I'm a Boys and Girls Club member or participant? How do I meet that person? Was there a convention or a
So,
camp? Or...
as far as the adults are concerned, we do have regional conferences, leadership conferences. So, as far as Boys and Girls Clubs is concerned, although I don't agree, we are in the Midwest. I'm like always saying, no Kentuckian will call themselves a Midwesterner, but for their purposes, we are in the Midwest. So we go to a Midwest leadership conference every year, and the states in the Midwest leaders from all of those places come. And that's a great opportunity to meet those club leaders from
Right.
native lands, or, I always really like to talk to people from large metro organizations and
Right.
see what they're facing and their programs look like. And then on the kids side, there's not as much for the younger kids, but as they get into those teen years, we have
Right.
what's called Keystone, which is a leadership program, and they have a national conference every summer, and kids that are Keystoners go to this conference. It's in Chicago this year. We're going, and they get to meet club kids from all over the country.
Priceless.
Yes.
So, organizations like this, once you pass that like 60-year mark, you start saying, well, okay, we know what we're doing. So what are some of the reasons maybe Boys and Girls Club has lasted 75 years? What's that? I mean, and what are some of those things that are just really, really, really work for the organization?
Well, I think first and foremost, people that were in the community that started the organization that were dedicated to making sure that young people were served and served well. And the proof is really in the pudding. We've really always had high quality program. We've rolled out high quality kids into the community. And I think that it's just like your business, if your product is great, your business is sustained, right? So
Right.
it's just, our product is the kid. So
Right.
it's that kind of business model. And people generally care about kids. They are, as cliche as it is, they are the future. And I always
Right.
say they're our most valuable natural resource, because whatever we put into them is what we're going to get out of them.
Right.
And so I think because we have done a good job of that historically, people continue to support it, and we just continue to grow and grow.
So, how do you guys compete with the technology, the Xbox and the iPhone and the iPad, and the people that want to be introverts and not like participate? What happens?
You embrace the technology. So I love to tell this on myself, because I grew up, I'm 44. I still have my original Nintendo that has all the cords, connected to the TV, the whole thing. So I was one of those early on, like, video games are going to rot your brain, whatever. But I quickly saw in the club environment how much the landscape has changed. Yes, it's gaming, but there's so much more tied to video games, for example. We now have an esports team that participates in a state league.
Wow.
And it opens up doors for them for scholarship opportunities and career paths. I mean, it's not just about playing the game. Like, some of these kids want to code the games. They want to do the graphic design for the games. There's just a lot of moving parts that you don't necessarily think about.
Right.
So we embrace it and monitor it in healthy doses. So we don't just let anybody stay on a device or a gaming system just endlessly.
Right.
But we do allow for it. And that way, if you just work with it, everybody wins in that scenario.
Because it's a challenge.
It is.
It's just you need those developmental skills, not to be in your own little box and then expand that box. So,
and we are pretty much a phone free zone. I mean, kids bring them in if they have them on from school, but they have to keep them put away, or we have a lockbox in the front that they can drop them off when they come in if they know. And we have kids that know, like, they're going to turn their phone in because otherwise they're going to get in trouble, because they'll get it out. We do let the teenagers have a specific time that they can be on their phones, but all the younger kids are not allowed on devices while they're at the club, because we want them present. We want them interacting with each other and getting those experiences, because that's one of the things this generation is really lacking in, is just the simple ability to do this, to sit and have a conversation.
Right.
They can be beside each other and will text each other. That's their default. So we try to really embrace phone free.
I think it's great. I think it's a great program. So, what is the next 10 years for the Boys and Girls Club? What does that look like? In the 85th or the 100th anniversary, or the next 25 years, what do you think that's going to look like?
So one of the things I'm most proud of in my tenure as CEO, I was actually a board member for almost a decade. I accidentally became the CEO, is what I always say. We had always been a single site organization, and the Bowling Green community is huge. We are the third largest community in the state, and our footprint should reflect that. And so I was able to, not single-handedly, not alone, there were a group of us, but I was not taking no for an answer. Like, my goal was to open some school sites. So we did that. And once we did that, now the momentum is picking up, and everybody's like, we want a school site. We want a school site. Last school year, we opened a site at Lewisburg Elementary in Logan County. So we're now a 4-site, 2-county organization, and we have a list of order of how we want to open new school sites. And so, looking to the future, my goal would be for every elementary school in this community to have a Boys and Girls Club program. To give every kid, meet kids where they are, give every kid that wants the opportunity the access to do it.
Right.
And I actually, and I'm going to put this out there, I've said this to certain people, but I'm going to put this out on your podcast.
Right.
I want to be innovative, and I think, we're building new schools, and certainly there will be more down the line as our community continues to grow. I would love to see new campuses have a Boys and Girls Club in the design, so that when kids leave school, they still have a separate space. It's still a clubhouse, but it's right there on campus. And it just eliminates barriers.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I agree at 1000%. So if I lived in Logan County or Lewisburg and I
Mhm.
can't get to Bowling Green, maybe my mom's car is not that nice or we're kind of poor. So we're not geographically set away from that opportunity. So when you have that in school exposure, they can go in there and they can do that because they're already at school. They've already got that, so they can pick it up. So I
Mhm.
was in FFA. I don't know why. I should have been in FBLA, but I love farming. I got exposed to that. I love working hard. I'm married. You should. She won't break a sweat, but Sean sure will. So, but in Future Farmers of America, I can say sitting in this chair today, that defines so much of who I am. And so that's what I'm
Mhm.
hearing from you on this Boys and Girls Club, junior achievement, these things, you got to dig in and then they pay you back and they give you this. Um, I've always said I can go, and these guys are like, oh, he does great on this podcast. And I'm like, I don't know where it comes from. I have no idea. I don't even consider this a talent, but I can go anywhere in the world. My dad was in the military, so I had that strict kind of thing. Then and I know I can deal with those people. I can talk to those people. I can deal with that situation. I can talk to them.
Mhm.
So, and that's what you're giving these kids. It
Yeah.
sounds like because they realize that maybe it's not all about you.
Mhm.
If there's other things and pieces that have to move together in tandem to make this special person, and like everybody wants to work on computers, but not everybody's meant to work on computers. And you might figure that out pretty quick that you're
Right.
not that good of a gamer or you're not that good of a coder. And so let's
Yeah.
transition over here. So how many people besides the CEO, how many leaders are there that like delegates and like one per 20 kids? What does that look like?
So there's myself, the CEO. I have a chief operating officer, Abby Kitchens. She's phenomenal. She's been with the program since actually August will be her 28th work anniversary.
20?
She started when she was 10. She came from the Girls Inc. side. We both did. I worked there in college, and then one thing led to the next. But and then below that we have site directors. So our main clubhouse has a site director. They're basically like, I always liken it to the school hierarchy, like I'm the superintendent, Abby's an assistant superintendent, perhaps, and then your site directors are your principals, and then under the site directors, we have what we call youth development professionals, and those YDPs for short. Those are our frontline boots on the ground staff that are with the kids, working with them day in day out. We take pride in the amount of training and development we put into our employees.
Right.
Most of them are Western students, they're 20 somethings, and nobody just is born with a skill set to just automatically work with kids and have all the answers, and certainly not when you're 20 years old.
Right.
And so we really pour into them and make sure that they are well trained and well equipped to do this work, because we are not babysitters. Right. We are really trying to grow and develop these kids.
Right. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Because I could see where that could fall into this monotony where nothing's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So because they're a nonprofit and funds matter so much, so how do I support Boys and Girls Club if I don't play golf and maybe I'm not exposed to these fundraisers that you have? So how do you support a company, or how do you...
It's really very simple. You can go to the donate link on our website, and it's set up. It's through a platform called Give Lively, and you have the option to do one-time donations. You can do recurring gifts. We have several folks that do a recurring gift, as much as or as little as you want. We have a monthly donor who donates $20, and that matters. I always say pennies make dollars. So. And in an organization like ours, nobody knows how to stretch a dollar like a nonprofit. So
that's true.
20 is basically 200 to us. So that, I try to make it as easy as possible. If you want me to come to your house and pick up a check out of your mailbox, I will do that. Whatever that there's no real formality to it. If you feel inclined to support the club, you can send us a check or put it on your card, however.
So what if you have time and you don't have money? You guys have volunteers that help? Or?
Absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. We love having volunteers. And I always say to folks, I think a lot of people kind of default to like, oh, well, I don't really I'm not artsy or craftsy, or I'm not, a good homework tutor. Those are the things that I think come top of mind as like volunteering.
Right.
But we want all different kinds of people. I guarantee you, every person listening has something that they could do at the clubhouse
Right.
that would provide an opportunity for a kid. We used to have an older couple who came and did a chess club, and the kids absolutely loved it.
Wow.
You might have some really cool hidden talent or skill or hobby
Right.
that these kids have never experienced.
And most people do.
Most
if you
people
dig
do.
in, you'll find he plays the harmonica.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know he played the harmonica.
And if you don't want to be like directly with kids, like I will find something for you. If you are willing to give of your time, we will find something that accommodates what you're comfortable with.
So how do we control who's exposed to these kids? Like, what is that? Is there a background check? Is it what kind of?
You know what's interesting is this week the whole the new Senate bill that went across about educators can't communicate with their students any longer, like
Right.
texting and such. And I was like, they'd be really ticked if they worked at Boys and Girls Club, because that's been our rule forever.
Right.
Safety is our first priority. That is not a tagline. We live it, breathe it, sleep it, eat it. You have to be thoroughly vetted. Our background checks are very intensive.
Good.
That's the first line. And then we do train our volunteers as well. Obviously, they don't go through as many hours as paid employees do,
Right.
but there is a specific volunteer training that you have to do before you're able to
Right.
be with the kids.
Good.
Yep.
So how do you all deal with like gender and pronouns and all that kind of stuff? How do you all deal with that? Do people come in with opinions and you got parents that want this agenda and they try to push it on you, or do you all just, how do you address that? How do you deal with that?
You know, I think as far as clubs are concerned, we're a place for all kids.
Right.
Full stop. Every kid, regardless of their zip code, their background, their color, their creed, their sexuality, like the club is for them.
Right.
And I'm not interrogating you about that. I'm not asking questions about that. You're a kid. This is your club.
Right.
We have not had an experience yet where any parents have come in one way or the other. And I think a lot of that in our society has gotten very exacerbated by media, and just we have all these hot takes and hot button issues, and things get, I have not experienced any situation in this community where I've seen any of some of the stuff that you hear.
Well, that's good, because I'm like, how would I be a kid today? I wouldn't even know what to do.
It is harder for kids today. Yeah. It is harder, but I think if you find yourself in a population that maybe is the underdog, let's just say it that way.
Right.
It's going to be even harder.
Right.
So we're not going to add anything to that as a
Right.
club. We're here to support you.
Right.
And once you get beyond that blue door at our clubhouse, all those other voices don't matter. I'll deal with them.
Why blue door? What's the blue door?
So Boys and Girls Club Blue. This is the color right here.
Right.
I
have blue too.
Yes, you do. It's our official color. The little hand, the knuckles on our logo.
That's
it's
right.
blue.
You recognize that?
Yeah.
It's like that though, isn't
Yeah.
it? Kinda, yeah.
And so the blue door was just kind of became a thing, years ago. Like that's our doors are blue.
So we can go online. We can participate like that. We can volunteer, participate like that. So if I'm a parent out there and I've not had this exposure, and I'm wondering what Boys and Girls Club is, or maybe I've got this student, my child, I want them to participate in it if they're willing. And so who do they go to? Who do they call? How does that?
So you can call the clubhouse, obviously, or you can stop by the office and talk to somebody. We're on 260 Scott Way.
Right.
Obviously, these days, probably calling is easier. We're our Facebook and Instagram are a great place to go, especially right now. Summer is going on, and our social media is hopping right now because we are hopping, and that's a great way just to kind of scroll through and see like all the great things that the kids are getting to do.
Perfect.
A lot of folks will even send us a message on there. We'll answer you, and usually end up setting up a phone call or whatever, but just reach out to us.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can answer the questions, encourage and whatnot. So if I'm a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, that there's a sweet spot where most of them start and maybe most of them exit. Where do you see that at? Do most of them stay, or only what does that look like?
The earlier a kid starts, the higher percentage that they stay throughout, at least 16. 17 and 18 gets a little stickier because a lot of those kids are working or they're,
Right.
you know, in other extracurriculars, and they don't have the same time that they used to be there all the time. But that 6 to 15, 16, if you started when you were a little kid, like they traditionally stay.
Right.
I would say there is probably, you know, maybe 25% that after 12 or 13 they fall off because some parents, you know, just let the kid decide at that point, and they want to stay home and they don't want rules and they want to be on their phone while mom's not home,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
And
And
they're
you
dealing
know,
with changes too.
exactly, that age is, man, it's tough. And I say to kids all the time, like, I do feel for how you're having to grow up. It is so much harder than when we grew up.
Right.
You know, my phone was tethered to a wall with a cord, and your dad would get on and be like, "It's after 8 o'clock. You're gonna have to tell your friend it's time to hang up." You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
They don't have to. That was our hard. It's
So
different.
I heard of it like an internship, and so I'm sitting there thinking if I was a boys and girl club member.
Mhm.
So when you start getting to that age, maybe 16, where we think they're going to exit, so is there like a recruiting where you should reach into the community and bring somebody young to replace yourself and tell them your experiences? What is
So with teens, really the best recruiting tool is the teens. Like they tell their friends, they want to do what their friends say. Like I can go talk at the high school all day long,
right?
and it's like, you know, Charlie Brown's teacher. But if I'm a teenager and I come to school, I'm like, you got to come to the club with me.
Right.
That gets, you know, we have teen nights and teen events
Right.
that they design, and they invite friends in. That's a great way to expose them.
So maybe more lateral instead of like deep.
Yes.
So, I got you.
And you know, again with teenagers, if we even get to see them once a week, I take that as a win because it's just different. It's a whole different ballgame working with teens. And if you're still making the effort to come once a week, that tells me it matters to you no
Right.
matter what. Yeah.
So I know you probably have a lot of stories. Is there a particular story that's like, wow?
Gosh. I often wish I had started writing these down early on, but this was, I was actually still on the board when this all started, but there was a family, there were some kids that were in the neighborhood of the clubhouse, and the director at the time noticed them. They were just always like roaming. Oh, my lemon earring slipped off.
What is that? Is it
It's a lemon.
A lemon.
Yeah.
I actually got lemons on it.
So they were just constantly, I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, they were just roaming free like wild animals. And one day a staff member saw them like looking in a dumpster for food, and we basically kind of intervened, sent a staff over like, hey, you guys need to come join the club. We got them where they started coming to the club. Just a really rough situation at home. And one day one of the brothers was kind of limping, and a staff was like, let me see, are you hurt? And he was like, no. He turned his foot over, and I still have these shoes, and the shoe soles were completely gone. They weren't worn, they were gone. And long story short, the club really dug into that situation, supported those kids. They ultimately ended up going into foster care, and today they are adopted with an amazing family. All of them are thriving, and they're in sports. They're thriving academically. One is a cheerleader. One is doing their sports and a job. You know, they're teenagers now. And I just think often, like, if that staff member hadn't gone over and taken that application and insisted, like, what might have happened?
Right.
You know, I don't know, but
the
likelihood is far less that they would have had the success of finding a good family if nobody had intervened early.
Wow.
Yeah.
So lemon. So they gave lemon. They made lemonade.
That's right.
So support this organization. Yeah. Financially, or you can volunteer, get in touch with them if you have a children in the need, and help this organization grow. That sounds like a great thing to be a part of. So thank you for joining us today and educating me. You can tell Mary, like, Sean got a master's degree today.
That's right.
Boys and Girls Club. So, So I would often stumble and call you guys the big brothers and big sisters. And Mary would
Yeah.
like, Sean, it's not big brothers and big sister, it's boys and girls club. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, sorry, you know. And
You are not alone in that. A lot of people do that.
So,
and it's an easy thing to
Right.
interchange. Yeah.
Right. Well, awesome. So she kind of set it straight today. She definitely got me straight. And so looking forward to visiting and mingling and helping you guys raise funds any way we can help support you. And so
Absolutely.
good deal. Maybe we can get some of our staff here to volunteer with their unlimited free time that they have in the afternoons.
That's right.
Once a quarter, that wouldn't
Yeah.
be too bad. 8 hours, you know. So ring,
Yeah.
ring, hint, hint. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Liz Bernard, folks, CEO of Boys and Girls Club of Bowling Green. So we appreciate what she's doing and what she's doing for the community. And we will visit with her again in the future sometime. But thank you for being here today. And thanks for educating us. So with Beneath the Surface, the Boys and Girls Club, we'll catch you next time.